I'm really very proud to be here to attend this meeting and to share my experience. I would like to start with this disclaimer that the opinions presented by me are please treat as my personal opinion. It's not only I am not talking on behalf of the PDCO or European agency. And additionally to the introduction done by Peter Knaufer, I would like to show you how I look normally when I work in my unit. First of all, I am a clinician, pediatrician and pneumonologist, but since many years I am involved in the reviewing process of the clinical trials for the Polish National Agency. Since 2007 I am the member of the Pediatric Committee. I was for 2 terms a member of the Ethics Committee in our institute, and I have also the experience with the pharma industry. I was working for 4 years for Boehringer Ingelheim, starting as a medical consultant and ending as a director of the branch office in Poland. And during my 30 minutes talk, I would like to show you how in practice we perform evaluation of the PIPs. And I would like to show you what is the current experience of the committee, and also I would like to talk to show you, to discuss with you what is known, but also what is unknown, also on ethical issues during the period when we evaluate the PIP. So it was already mentioned by Danny Brasser today that the pediatric regulation has 3 primary objectives, and in daily practice we are working with another document with the information provided by the European Commission, the guideline on a format and content of the application for the Pediatric Investigation Plan, for requests for waivers and deferrals, and another procedures related to this issue. So I would like to start with a very basic definition that the Pediatric Investigation Plan is a research and development program aimed at ensuring that the necessary data are generated, determining the conditions in which a medicinal product may be authorized to treat the pediatric population. Later on during my talk, I will use the abbreviation, the PIP, which is the document upon which the development and authorization of medicinal products for the pediatric population should be based. And this very well-known slide showing that according to the pediatric regulation, to the working procedures, we expect to receive the PIP in a very early stage of development of the drug, just after the pharmacokinetic studies completed in adults. And of course, during the process, during the development, we expect that this previously approved PIP could be amended. There is a very precise description what is the structure of the PIP application. There are 6 parts. The first part A is the administrative part and basic product information. And later on during my talk, I would like to give some details on the part B, C, and D. So, having the validated PIP, we start 2 periods of the assessment. Each of this period takes 60 days, but between these 2 periods there is a stop clock. It should be ideally a couple of weeks, months, but in practice it's much longer. Sometimes takes several months. There is a time when the applicant is preparing the answers for the request for modification which was raised by or prepared by the pediatric committee. You have seen also this slide today, but what I would like to add to the information given by Daniel Brasser, that in fact the committee is a fantastic mixture of the people with the different background. All of us are pediatricians, some of us working longer or shorter, some of us, some of colleagues move later on to the regulatory authorities, and also it's important to say that there is the representation of almost all fields of the pediatrics. And what is extremely important that also we get 6 members, 3 representatives of healthcare professionals and 3 representatives of patients, which is extremely important. They are continuously adding comments during the evaluation process. And now let's start to see what are the topics of our every meetings discussions. In the part B of the application, we are looking and discussing the similarities and differences of a disease condition between adults and different subsets of the pediatric population. There is the basic importance of this part is to discuss should we go for the clinical trials, or we can extrapolate some informations already, some data already collected in adults. Also extremely important is to decide what is the earliest age of the onset of the disease or condition, which is a part of the application, because based on this fact we can decide what will be the cutoff for the age cutoff for waiver. Another topic which is included to this part is the discussion on the methods of how we diagnose currently the medical problems in the certain conditions, and also what will be the future role of the drug. It will be the prevention or treatment. What is extremely important, and it was just mentioned before my talk during the discussion, that we are looking what are the standards of care at the moment for this indication, and if there's a real need to get a new drug, because it could be a reason to give a waiver. And we would like to ask applicants, and also we are checking if the proposal is also in line with the inventory published by the European agency. And just I would like to remind you that there is a list of pediatric needs available on the website of the agency. And also what is important for us, because we would like to support the research in off-label, of patent drugs research, we are looking also if the application is in line, potentially in line with the list of the priority list for this research. And there are 2 types of the waiver. It could be the product-specific waiver, and this product-specific waiver could be granted based on lack of efficacy or safety, based on the disease or condition not occurring in the specific pediatric subset, or based on a lack of significant therapeutic benefit. But there is also a second type of the waiver, the class waiver, which applies to the product, to no product-specific waiver, but to therapeutic indication. And as a pneumologist, the best example for me is, of course, the treatment of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which is not occurring can't be diagnosed in pediatric population. Now going to the most important part, or the very important part of the application, part D. In this part of the application, we are looking to the data, to the information on the proposal strategy for the pediatric development, for the chosen indication and selected pediatric subsets, to existing information on quality, non-clinical and clinical data. We are discussing the strategy in relation to quality aspects, non-clinical aspects, and clinical aspects. And what is important probably for the further discussion, at this stage of the development, we get very frequently just a synopsis or the first outline of the protocol of each planned clinical studies. What is one of the probably the most important part of our work is also to look very carefully for the age-appropriate formulations, also for the age-appropriate strengths, to the route and frequency of administration, to the choice of excipients, to the taste and palatability, to the rate of infusion, and also if you are looking for the trials planned to be performed in, for example, in neonates, it's important how the applicant plans to perform the dilution procedures, which volume will be administered to the neonates. And there are we discuss a lot of aspects, clinical aspects, type of study, design. Of course, they could vary depending on condition, product characteristic, clinical experience, but we're always discussing if there's a need for PK and safety studies, PK safety and efficacy studies. And at the end of the process, the opinion is agreed, is used by the agency, and I would like to show you the example of the opinion taken from the website of the agency. There's a full transparency. You can see also all of these documents on the website of EMA. So there is in this case is the active substance is a recombinant human monoclonal antibody to human interleukin 13. The condition is treatment of asthma. This is a solution for injection, and there's a waiver granted for the pediatric population from birth to less than 6 years of age, on the grounds that the specific medicinal products does not represent a significant therapeutic benefit over existing treatments. And in fact, what is extremely important is to see how precisely the indication is described. This product, the development, is designed for the treatment of uncontrolled asthma despite the daily use of medium or high dose inhaled corticosteroid and long-acting beta-2 agonists. And the program should be performed in the pediatric population from 6 to 18 years of age. And the program, which was accepted in this case, is consisting of 6 clinical trials. The single-dose, open-label, parallel group study to evaluate the safety, tolerability, and pharmacokinetic in adolescents and adults. The second, this is the multicenter randomized double-blind placebo-controlled add-on study to standard therapy to evaluate the efficacy and safety of this product, also in the adolescents mixed with adults. And there are additional 3 studies to complete the program. What we accept also, because of this very advanced and rich development, we accepted the deferral for the completion of the Paediatric Investigation Plan up to December 2022. And the opinion was used in September 2010, so it is an additional 12 years of period when the program will be ongoing and, of course, probably will be amended. What are our current results of our almost 5 years of work? Until from 2007, from the first meeting was in July 2007, the first application was in August 2007, until October 2011, there were almost 1,200 applications. Majority of them were according to the Article 7, so there's for non-authorized products. 1/4 of them for the new indications or new pharmaceutical forms for authorized products, and very, very few for off-patent drugs. And I would like to show you now a couple of slides from in fact, the first paper, which was published this year, a couple of months ago in the European Journal of Clinical Pharmacology by the team run by Agnès Saint-Raymond. And this paper shows us results of the first 3 years of the work of the Pediatric Committee. Between 2007 and December 2009, there were 528 valid applications for PIPs and 138 for full waivers. During this time, 166 opinions were given on PIPs and 91 on full waivers. And what I would like to show you also, Dr. Torsten Olski, together with a pediatric team of EMEA, performed this very detailed analysis on the details of 62 phase 2-3 trials included to the PIPs approved during this time. So, sorry for this bad quality of this presentation, of this slide, but you can see that in fact there are 3 major indications. The applications were related to the 3 major indications. First of all, endocrinology and metabolism, oncology, and infectious disease. There are some fields of pediatrics still underrepresented. I'm working in pediatric intensive care, so for me it's important that neonatal and pediatric intensive care is underrepresented. Also, the nephrology, ophthalmology, and some others. So this is the first data. What is the scope of the applications? On the next slide, you can see a very interesting data showing in the first column, you can see the number, the details about of these 62 trials which were included to the PIPs agreed during this time. And you can see that almost all of the trials proposed by the applicants were accepted by the PDCO. But there is additional important information on this slide that on request of the pediatric committee, there were several new trials added to the first proposal. So you can see that, in fact, there were 23 additional trials added. And what is also very interesting to see that as a committee, we strongly support for these indications to increase the number of the placebo-controlled trials, also few active controlled trials. On the second slide, you can see the age distribution in these trials. And similar to the previous one, you can see that as an impact of our evaluation and impact of our discussion in the committee, it was increase the number of the children from the lower age groups. Especially, you can see this in the neonates, that not only first of all in infants, that it was increased number of the trials. But what is also found, and is similar to the example which I chosen for my presentation, there is a significant number of trials with a very, very long deferral time. It could be for some PIPs, it could be more than 8 years. As an average is between 3 and 5 years. So, going to the last part of my presentation, I would like to show you the frequently asked questions during our monthly meetings. We are discussing if there is a real need, pediatric need for medicinal product which is planned to be developed, what are currently drugs used for the indication, what could be the potential advantage of proposed medicinal product over currently used drugs, differences between adult and pediatric patients, existing guidance on the condition, scientific or EMA or national competent guidelines, but also we are quite often looking for the data of the registries or formularies, what is already collected. And we discuss, is there a need to run clinical trials in pediatric population? What data are needed? PK, safety, efficacy, and safety. What should be design of the study? Active comparators, placebo add-on standard therapy. What should be the appropriate, means validated primary and secondary endpoints? What should be the sample size properly calculated? How we can collect data on pharmacokinetic using radar population PK. We are also looking if the applicant or if there was already any advice received from any regulatory authority relevant to the development of the medicinal product for pediatric population. But also, this is a good example how we have to balance between the need for research, but also protection of the of the children rights, we're quite often discussing if there are enough pediatric patients to be included in the trials in the same therapeutic area, what should be the role of extrapolation, simulation, how to minimize potential risk or harm for children enrolled to the clinical trials. We strongly support the importance of the data, of the inclusion of the data safety monitoring boards into the protocols, and also we discuss very frequently need for long-term follow-up of potential safety issues. The problem is that quite often it's a problem what should be the period of this observation. Months, or sometimes during the it could be covered also the much longer period, which is from the practical point of view, from the industry point of view, very difficult to be accepted. And of course, because of this, as I already showed to you, the very long period of the pediatric investigation plan, there are a lot of information which are unknown during the time of the PIP evaluation. And looking for the ethical aspects, for sure, you know, we don't know what will be the impact of changing environment, change of the medical knowledge during the 10 years, new diagnostic therapeutic opportunities. So this is extremely important. Also, as I mentioned, we get just a synopsis or outline of the protocol. So we don't know, we haven't information, exact information on investigators or centers in terms, especially of the expertise on specific pediatric problems. And there is, what is unknown is the full documentation of the clinical trial approved protocol. Of course, we don't get any information on the proposed information for patient, parents, and informed consent forms. There's just some examples what is unknown during the period of the PIP evaluation. And to conclude my talk, this is my personal opinion that there is a common task for all stakeholders, the European Agency, the Pediatric Committee, investigators, Ethics Committee, patients, parents, industry, to be actively participate in the process, ensuring that medicinal products for use in children are of high quality, being ethically researched, and finally authorized appropriately. I do believe that current results of the pediatric regulation implementation into the law of EU member states are very promising. And also I believe that meetings like today's should stimulate further improvement of research and also better protection of the children's rights. And you can see how looks our daily or monthly work of our committee, how active sometimes, how actively we discuss all of these issues. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Marek. I think many or some don't or didn't really know how your daily work looks like, so that was very interesting. Are there questions or remarks directly to Marek? Please, here.
Yes, José Grosswasser from Brussels. If I understand well, the PIP is designed very early in the development of the medicine, but information we are getting, or the industry or the researcher are getting information along all the process of development of the medication on adults. Some of those information can be used for the pediatric investigation plan and could lead to the non-necessity to perform some of the investigation which have been planned in the beginning. How is that dealt with?
Thank you for this question. As I showed to you, we would like to start the pediatric development as early as possible, just to avoid situation when the development in adults is finished, the product is authorized, and later on there is no any effort from the industry to perform the clinical trials in the pediatric population, just to to support the off-label use in children. So it was a very good idea to start the pediatric development just after the PK studies in adults. But of course, as you mentioned, at this stage of the development, there are a lot of information not yet available. For example, quite often we have no proper information about the pediatric formulation of the product. But that's why during the ongoing PIP, during the deferral period, there's a chance to amend the already agreed PIP. And of course, it's necessary to provide all of this information and to change properly the design of the further development.
Herr Raki?
Yeah, I'm Kurt Raki from an ethics committee in Germany. Well, you showed us an example of a trial, the asthma trial, and I found it quite problematic, let's say, because it just showed the problem we have sometimes, that the adolescents and the adults are added in one trial. How is the pediatric benefit really ensured in that trial? It's very difficult, and in addition, it's also very difficult to fit it in the legislation, because it's a really complicated design which really has to be, or the rationale for it is very difficult to see.
Yeah, but it's quite common. Well, in the asthma, let me answer your question, that if you are using staggered approach, starting from the trials in adults, sometimes, it's, and it's my personal opinion, it's good to include later on adolescent to the adult population, just to get 13% of the adolescent patient included in the trial, and later on to go down below the 12 years of age. And as you look for the the guidelines, it's also corresponding to the international guidelines how to treat asthma, that the adolescents in fact could be treated exactly as adult patients.